Can't really tell us. Now we
And
are. We roll in, Bob. Do you want to say anything funny before the intro?
no, we're live.
Hello in there! Hey, what's so important? What you got here that's worth living for?
All right. So now we're official.
We're official, and it's Tuesday night, and we promised everybody, our viewers, we would release a video every Tuesday. So tonight, we've released 10 interviews of sorts, and so I thought, yeah, we'd circle back and kind of talk about what it's been like and kind of reorient the project a little bit. I don't know. What do you think?
See, we can do this nifty thing.
My brother's the tech guy.
I think, yeah, like one of the things is that by going live, I don't have to worry about rendering and upload. It's right now.
All that technical stuff, a lot more streamlined going live. But no, I thought it'd be interesting to kind of look back at the process, and we were talking about how it changes things when the camera's on, and how frustrating it is to go. The coolest thing about this whole project is that it focuses in on the one thing I love, which is talking to my interesting friends. But you show up and you're talking, the energy's good, and then it's discussing interesting topics, and then I gotta stop and try to figure out, is the camera working? And I think as time goes on, obviously I'll get better at that, but it changes the dynamic, when suddenly the camera's rolling and it's all it's just different. And then the technical difficulties was such a bummer. It's particularly one of the biggest ones was just with Danielle. We had such a great interview, and we got into. She had spent a lot of time in Bhutan. Got into the question of, what does it mean to have a culture? Like in Bhutan, they have an actual culture. Everybody knows what you wear, what you do, what you say. And I think that idea is lost and frowned upon in America.
Yeah, she was just getting into it. I could tell.
So
she was just getting into it when it cut off, and
it's terrible. And I blame the government.
Well, that's why I went to this format. When this format came along, like everybody's doing this now with COVID. I've been doing this for 4 years now, or maybe 3. And 4 with Ford. And to me, this just made so much more sense because I didn't have to. Oh man, I had the same problems you did. It's my camera kept shutting off, or I filmed the whole one without my mic even hooked up to the. Had the whole thing. Everything went smoothly except no sound.
Yeah.
Interview with no sound. Nice.
Yeah. It's interesting to think. It makes me think of all the things we've lost over the years. There's whole books that are referred to, antiquity. There's books that the scripture refers to that we don't have.
Interesting.
Book of Jasher, I think, and Book of Kings, or different. I don't know. There's different books that we refer to as if But anyway, yeah. So
what do you think? What do you think the significance of that is? Because I think that's to me, that's really the fact that we don't have certain information. I think the lack of it is just as important as the ones we do have. I mean, that may sound weird, but it just in a world where God is in control, to a certain extent, whatever extent you believe, like it's. I've
been just thinking, yeah, I guess when you're you think of that we have everything, you know, that we have all the songs, that we have all the books, that we have, you know, that you can go back and, oh, I know what it was like in the 60s or in the 40s or in the 30s, but we have a tiny fraction of what went on.
But what it makes me think about, though, is the fact that as humans, we have very limited memory, and that's a good thing. If we could remember every single fact, jot, and tittle of everything that happened in our life, we'd go insane. And we would be a completely different culture. We would be completely different people if we had every last bit of information that was, you know, recorded or available to us at one point.
I don't know. But the big scary thing is, welcome to the future. You know, we're going to have more and more and more and more.
Yeah.
To the point, you know, even, I mean, it's changed so much to think, you know, our parents grew up, granddaddy grew up, they had 1 or 2 pictures that they had taken. And, you know, that maybe controlled their memories a little bit. You look back at the pictures and it jogs different memories. Then mom and dad have a lot of pictures of their youth, like dozens, you know, maybe 100. But most kids from now on are just going to have an infinite number of pictures of them at every phase of their life, and videos and you know, all the communication. I mean, every now and then I scroll back through my old emails and they're all there.
Yes.
It's scary. Oh my goodness, you know, all these different, you just scroll right through them.
Well, but that's one comforting thing to me, is the difference between email and social media is you'll never go back to all your social media posts, because there's just, you know, that's like one of the arguments against,
it's kind of,
you know, the more the government has, more information have, the better, because they have to sift through it, you know. And the emails, there is a chunk of them, and it's cool to kind of go back, but they were like not every day, 3 times a day, you know, like that's just, it may be that we get to a point where it's just like too much for anybody to do, you know, to the point of no return, or what is it, diminishing returns.
Well,
that, like maybe it,
it just changes our relationship to the past, though. And I don't know what to do about that. I don't know if there's anything we can do about that. But anyway, this project, ToBlathe, you know, I have to remember what is it, you know, that little tagline, just listening to it at the intro here reminded me, oh yeah, you know, what do you have that's worth living for? And trying to get down to those core values that connect everybody and that cross party or political or cultural lines. And I don't know, I was thinking back on the 10 interviews I've done so far, and some of the themes that have come up, and they've touched on some of the ideological things I struggle with. And particularly if you look at, you know, the contrast between my dear friend, Jonathan Canone, who was sharing with us how excited he was when he got rid of all his guns. And that was even before he joined the Mennonites. And my dear friend, Eustace Conway, and his, you know, thought that there's, you know, a lot of honor in that, whatever, but it's not the road to freedom, and that we need, you know, an armed populace was part of the American design to resist tyranny. And I've been having some discussions with some of the friends who watched the interviews, and that's, I'm not alone in struggling with that. And
what do you mean? Say more about that. What do you mean?
What do you mean, not being alone, or
what's going on? Like, what kind of conversation is that? People are, I mean,
well,
it's very vague. People are saying, hey, I watched them too, and now I'm struggling, or
no,
hey,
like, I too, you know, feel sort of a patriotic urge to do the right thing, to be courageous, to be ready to take up arms, whatever. But I also feel the call of Christ to turn the other cheek, to love my friends, to love my enemies. And that's what I've been really meditating on. And I feel like I've kind of actually made some progress. I've been really thinking about what it means to love your enemies.
Wow.
It's the biggest challenge, I think, that you could give anybody.
Yeah.
And so when I think of the spirit in which, so it's really changed my view of, you know, when I hear friends talking about picking up arms, you know, whether, you know, I was in the military, so whether, you know, it's part of the U.S. military or resistance to tyranny or whatever, to defend their house. You know, most people, you know, they want to defend their family or whatever. But, and I'm sympathetic. I'm sympathetic to that. You might even say, you know, like a righteous anger. Like if they come after my family, you know, they'll get it. But it's not really Christ-like. But then I got to thinking, like, love your neighbor as yourself. Are there circumstances under which I would want somebody to shoot me? You know? And I think, what if I was somehow had been, I don't know, brainwashed, drugged, somehow, you know, demon possessed, whatever. So that from a distance, even you who love me dearly, you know, saw me about to do something. And you thought, that's not Paul, you know. He would want me to stop him at any cost. You know? And I think the circumstances under which he would still love me, even if you thought, I've got to stop him. I've got to even kill him to stop him from doing this thing which is against his true nature, which is horrible, you know, something, if I was getting ready to commit some atrocity or whatever. And so
but I mean,
think that was your starting point. Go ahead.
Isn't that sort of taking it to its extreme, though? I mean, what about this?
People, it doesn't get much more extreme than that.
What's that? You broke up.
The question is, when are we permitted to kill people or to use that kind of violence? I mean, yeah, it doesn't get much more extreme than that. And so,
well, I guess I'm just thinking about your idea of like violence and loving your neighbor. When is it okay? So this new video is out of that pastor who is screaming at the cops to get out of his church.
Right.
And that's been really controversial. And I struggled with it because at first, I mean, I posted it and said amen and I love it.
Sure.
And it's like, would Christ have done that? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm open to it. You know, if you think of, you know, if somebody comes into your house, you know, somebody stumbles in drunk and is violent or otherwise doesn't belong there, I think it's perfectly okay to just say, get out, you know? And so if that's how he felt, like these people don't belong here, they are drunk with power, with desire to control, they're threatening what we have going on. Get out. But I do still think, you know, when we consider all these things, even the violent use of force, you never get around. You're not allowed to just stop loving your enemy. And I don't think some sort, you know, what were you gonna say?
Well, I mean, Christ let people kill him.
Right. Yeah, I don't know if there's any defense of self-defense.
Yeah, I guess that's what my next question is.
Or protecting anybody. It doesn't have to be your family, you know, innocent people or whatever. As far as self-defense, I understand people that want to defend themselves, but I don't see it. You know,
so does this make you want to like interview more people on both sides, or to get more, or does it kind of make you not want to interview these people? That have the extreme views.
It's a good question. There's a few people whose thoughts I might be interested in getting on it. Maybe another angle, but it's a tough one. It's a tough one for me.
Would you be able to raise this issue, like the opposite issue, to somebody? You know what I mean? Like with Eustace, would you be able to? You kind of did in your interview. I don't know if we cut it out, but I think we left it in, and where you were like,
then I was like,
what if, yeah,
what about some of these other approaches?
And he was just like, oh, because that's where he was like, yeah, it's not my bag, or what did he say? It was like,
I don't dig on that.
It's cool. I don't dig on that.
I don't dig on that. And, at the end of the day, people have to, obviously we share with each other and we, promote the things that we feel are true. But at the end of the day, everybody's got to do what they feel they are called to do.
Yeah.
And I'm deeply suspicious though of a lot of people who are quick to violence. I have a lot of friends, and it's different forms depending on your sort of political background. I have, say, friends on the left who are quick to want to pass certain laws. What they don't realize is a law is
violence,
deciding who we're going to arrest or shoot or whatever. So the violence is a little more hidden there. And then I have friends on the right who want to talk about the Second Amendment and fighting tyranny. And I ask them, like, are you ready to start shooting policemen and soldiers? Because, they talk about, well, come and take my guns. Well, who's going to come take your guns? It's not going to be politicians or foreign nationals, And I think, like, at least, like Eustace said, most people aren't ready for it and haven't thought it through, and would be horrified. Even the people who are promoting it would be horrified if they really saw what, overthrowing tyranny looks like. And it's messy. You look at what's going on in Burma right now. It's messy.
Yeah.
And, I don't know.
Yeah.
The Revolutionary War was not pretty. Certainly it didn't have the carnage of the Civil War. But war is just a horrible thing.
Yeah.
But sometimes I think pretending, that, we just don't want war, is oftentimes setting yourself up for something worse.
Well, you brought something up before too about, even though I don't like war, doesn't mean I don't find it interesting strategy wise, like getting away from a Manichaean sort of approach, black and white, it's either good or bad, like being able to dissect things and have discussions about things.
Yeah. I think, you have to be able to back away and look at what's going on, and to be able to face, at least some people, maybe not everybody does, but some people have to just face some inevitabilities. And one of the things that gets bad, like war is horrible, and I want peace. But death is not the worst thing. And I think people people need to be reminded of that. I think that over history has come and gone as a theme, but when death becomes the worst possible thing, you're setting yourself up for tyranny, for various forms of slavery, whether it's slavery to your own safety or slavery to whatever. Death is just, we're all gonna die.
Yeah. That's what people do. They die.
What's that
from?
But dying, how you die used to be a really big deal. If you die, if you live, how you lived is a lot more important than when you die. And I don't know, that idea of honor, and who I saw it, there's all these little heart-wrenching little things that come up on Facebook, and they're good. I saw one today about, I think it was an Olympic race, where I guess the front runner
fell or something.
Well, no, I think he was confused. He thought he'd already crossed the line or something. So he started slowing down, and the guy behind him is hollering at him, "Keep running, keep running!"
Wow.
They're different languages because they're different, different nationalities, and so he basically pushes him along to win. And they interviewed him afterwards, and they asked him, "Why'd you do this? You could have just won the race."
Yeah.
And he's like, well, he points out the obvious, which is that he really wouldn't have won. He wasn't winning. This guy was winning the race. He would have won it. But a little line in there that really gave me hope for humanity. He said, what would my mother think? What would my mother, if that's how I won? My son got gold, sort of. He would have got silver, but the guy was confused, and so he got gold. And I think those little connections, your mom, your grandma, school teacher, whatever, whoever those people are in your life, they're what keeps society, what keeps us as humans able to quickly make the right decision. I don't know. I just thought that was really touching, and really that occurred to him.
Well, I mean, that's the microcosm of, or not microcosm, but that is that's the DNA of culture, right? It's like who you care, whose opinion you care about.
Yeah.
Who do you love? Right?
Yeah. And and love, the essence of love is the unconditional, right?
Well, I guess it does kind of get into, it does get into the definition of love, not just who are you infatuated with.
Sure. I mean, really, the unconditional. I think it's very important to get to the unconditional.
Yeah.
There were no circumstances under which I would throw them under the bus, lie to them, just unconditional.
Who do we love unconditionally?
That was everything he had ever wanted in his life.
Yeah.
He was an Olympic athlete. Getting the gold to him is everything, but not everything. Not disappointing his mom, because that love is unconditional.
Yeah. Yeah. I've thought about that idea of who we are worried about their opinion, because it's the people or friends that are not really that good of friends, or or you're not really connected to, because they don't take your opinion serious. Put it in I statements. They don't take my opinion seriously. My opinion doesn't shift theirs at all. Those are the people that I'm like, well, I guess, like, I don't matter to them. So, there's something about that. And then it makes me think, of course, that was the selfish thing that was going through my head when I was is around people that I disagreed with. But then I have to think, well, how much is my opinion being shifted by them? Who the people around me that I don't shift my opinion for, and I I say that I love them, I care about them, but is it that unconditional love?
Yeah. Those are different, their opinions and your unconditional love, but it reminds me of something I saw today, a quote I saw today. Somebody's vices by their friends and their virtues by their enemies. And I thought it was, that is to say.
So explain that. What is that?
Maybe your friends, can
bring out the worst in you.
Well, you're comfortable around your friends, right? So they show the worst side. They show the worst side of you. Whereas your enemies, they take. I really don't know. It seemed to ring true. I thought, maybe your enemies, they do take you seriously, right? They might not agree with you, but for them to, like what you were talking about, do they take me seriously? Are they shifted by my opinion? Well, your enemies are people that, they take you seriously.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, we
dislike you.
A man may get more respect from his enemies because of fear, because I don't know. I'm trying to sort out. I don't have a lot of enemies, so I don't really know how enemies work.
Yeah.
Or real enemies, like what is a real enemy? I watch so much of this, like, black and white, bad guy versus good guy stuff with hero shows and stuff like that. I was in discussion with a friend today about it, and it's like, well, in real life, how much of this is, how many times in life do we actually face enemies? Who are our enemies?
Yeah, I mean, generally that's a caricature of not of
symbol.
A symbol, and really, keep reminding myself that the portrait of the source of most of my problems hangs over my bathroom sink. Myself, a mirror.
Oh, your mirror.
My mirror.
I thought you had a little phrase.
No, I'm just talking about my mirror. Like, most of our enemy, is ourself.
Yeah.
And that kind of brings it back to, if somehow that part of ourself that is our worst enemy took over, wouldn't you want somebody, if they had no other option, to stop us using violence? I don't know. I was thinking about the healing of you'd want to be healed, right? That would be the best. But I was thinking about the Gadarene demoniac, who was a scary person, running around hurting himself and hurting potentially others. He seemed to be ostracized outside of town. And it's wonderful that he was delivered of those demons. But what you see after that is that behind those demons was a person that was probably wonderful. And so I guess if nothing else, when I think about my enemies and imagine not just, people that are annoyed with me, but say somebody broke in my door to hurt me and my friends or, something like that. No matter how I treat that situation, I hope that something deep inside me, even in the heat of the moment, acknowledges that behind this demonic facade, I don't know if facade's the right term, but this act,
Mode or part.
this caricature, I don't know, is a wonderful person. Is a wonderful person who I love.
Mm.
And and I've just been trying. It's hard, just practicing. I mean, you want to know who your enemies are, just start trying to love them, and they come out of the woodwork. And I'm talking about just somebody cutting you off in traffic, somebody just a little every day, and you just want to think, this jerk. But certainly other people must look at me like that all the time. This,
Well, and that's the scary part is like, you think, I mean, I don't like the idea of even you making a decision whether or not I am,
What?
I am inconsolable, like, okay, it's time to shoot him.
Well, no, I was talking about that would be like in some act, like if you're brandishing a gun wandering into a school or something,
But
Where,
but still,
well,
I mean, our eyes are so bad at really knowing reality,
if you
What
see me
if,
brandishing a gun and wandering into a school screaming threats, please shoot me.
I probably won't, but there's other ways.
Yeah, if there's any other possible way to stop somebody. But anyway,
See,
it's really it seems like a really, creepy, weird thought experiment.
Mhm.
But I don't see any other way of sort of getting at the root of when do we use violence. And I think we outsource it so much to police and soldiers and whatever that nobody wants to face it. It's
Yeah.
like people that are happy to eat meat, but then they're horrified when I talk about, shooting one of my animals outside my house. So anyway,
Okay.
it's what's that?
Wait, they're happy to eat meat, but they're horrified at you shooting an animal?
Yeah, a lot of people are, they're able to eat meat because it's all outsourced.
Oh yeah. And we have a whole podcast about that way back when we talked about death and the outsourcing of death.
We didn't get into that. So anyway, but we want to talk about life and abundant life. And that's what I really want to, as I interview more people, friends and family and travel around, I got to remember, what do you have that's worth living for?
And maybe you should even practice saying that, start it off by saying, well, what do you have that's worth living for? Or start thinking about, like you talked about before, about like different approaches, not putting people on the spot, but saying, you said Tim Ferriss doesn't ask what's your favorite book. He says, what book do you give the most as a gift? You told me that once.
Yeah.
So is there a way to sort of come at it sideways? What do you have that's worth living for,
Yeah, that's a good question. How do you get at this without being so vague and broad, where people,
yeah, put them on the spot or whatever. It's
on the spot, and it shapes, well, the most valuable things, my wife, my children, and that's all, true. But yeah. So
Well, it's
we've
been
done
35 minutes. What?
Yeah, we've done 10 videos, and I appreciate all the work you put into this. You've done a lot of the work. All I do is fumble with the camera and drive around and talk to great people. I hope people have gotten something out of the interviews we've done.
I think they have.
I'm excited to maybe keep doing it if people still want to hear what it is.
Well, I've had great feedback. I've seen great feedback from Dave Malik and Dave Duran, and both of them have left thumbs ups and maybe watching right now. Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for tuning in.
It's late, but anyways, thanks, bro. I love you, man. And even if you have to shoot me someday.
We gotta find like gradations, but I know what you mean. Taking something to its extremes to really bring out the truth of the matter.
Get to the principle. What is it?
Yeah.
Can you kill somebody with love?
Yeah.
Because
all right, man.
Was love. All right, I love you, man.
Love you too. Thank you. Love you guys for tuning in, and we will we'll be back next. Well, Paul will at least be back next week with talking to maybe your friend Jonathan, right?
Yeah, maybe.
We'll see.
All right. Talk to you later, brother.
Bye.